Hi, my name is Steph Claire Smith and this is Uncommon.
This podcast is brought to you by Neuralle Media. Are you an entrepreneur or marketer who needs help making podcasts, video or animation? Perhaps you don't have time to manage a freelancer or the budget to deal with an agency. Well, Neuralle Media can help you with simple and affordable content creation, saving you time and money by taking away the pain of producing that content. To learn more, head to neuralle.com/media. That's neuralle.com/media. Play around with our pricing or request a callback directly. Listeners to the show receive a special discount by using the promo code UNCOMMON. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon. My name's Jordan Michaelides and I'm your host. In this episode, I have for you Steph Claire Smith. Steph is the co-founder of powerful fitness and health brand Keep It Cleaner, as well as fashion brands Soda Shade and Midnight Co. Steph is also the co-host of the KIC Podcast, co-author of A Girl's Guide to Kicking Goals. She's the face of Bondi Sands and an ambassador for both Baby G and Bras and Things. I think I said in Laura's episode, Laura Henshaw that is, which is Steph's business partner, that both Steph and Laura are sort of like the Rock and Kevin Hart of young female inspiration in Australia. Steph is undoubtedly a kingmaker and one of the most overlooked marketing talents in the business, I think. To create not just Keep It Cleaner, but to forge two other brands is a monumental feat and can only be done if you really understand both the markets they're in and the people associated to them. And I think Steph is an entrepreneur to keep track of definitely over the next few years. We covered a lot in this episode, including growing up sporty, modelling and self-confidence, meeting Laura Henshaw, learning from KIC, Midnight Co and Soda Shades, as well as work ethic and responsibility. If you like the episode, do leave a rating on your podcast app or consider leaving us a review. Share with your friends, take a screenshot, post on your Instagram story, tagging us at uncommon_podcast. If you want to watch the episode in full, you can search Uncommon Podcast on YouTube and don't forget to like and subscribe. All show notes, whether it's for Steph's or previous guests, are just at neuralle.com/podcast. That's neuralle.com/podcast. With that being said, thanks so much for listening to this episode. Our regulars, thanks each week for coming back. Our newbies for giving us a shot. I hope you all enjoy this thoroughly enjoyable conversation with Steph Claire Smith. Steph, we're live.
We're live.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Very, very good. It's been unusual weather for the last week or so. It's just been non-stop downpour.
I feel like, though, we've had it coming. We've had such a good start to the winter. I know everyone's complaining about the weather right now, but we had such a good start. It was so sunny for so long. I just knew this was coming.
Yeah. It's always this time of year as well. And like I felt like normally this time of year I get a pretty nasty cold. And I felt like it was coming on Friday, but then I slept for like 30 hours from Friday through to Monday in different intervals. And I feel like it's the first time ever I've actually listened to my body.
Good on you.
And yeah, and taking on board what you guys have been saying as well. And I've not actually gotten properly sick. Like it just sort of went. So strange.
Good.
Have you ever had that?
I usually get sick because
because you're just doing so much.
I need to listen to my own advice and listen to my body a little bit. But sometimes we don't really have the choice, as you would know. You know, life can get busy and you can't always stop when you need to. But I've been pretty good this, touch wood. I haven't got a cold yet this season. So
yeah, I mean, I heard someone at work had the flu, but we all got the shot. Did you get the shot?
I haven't. But people in the office have been pretty good. And we're kind of like, as soon as someone's a bit flu-y, we're like, just go home.
That's good. Yeah, I remember having the flu back in 2012. It's one of the most brutal things that you can get. It's very, very very, very nasty. All right, I'm going to ask you some true and false questions to get into it. Okay. Laura's given me some amazing notes.
Oh, my God.
I'll just warn you. So, true or false, about a few times a year you get the opportunity to play The Sims.
True.
Okay,
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah, well, look, I wish there was more opportunity, but it's true.
Is it true or false that as a condition of Laura being a bridesmaid, she has to get a fringe?
No! Oh my gosh. Okay, so a little bit of background to that. I can't just say false. God, having her as my maid of honor, I don't know what I was thinking there. Honestly, she's so sarcastic in her humor that like nothing, everything's a joke, which is fine. It's been so fun. But anytime she writes something because we have a group Facebook chat going on.
Okay.
And when she writes, I get really excited because I'm like, oh my God, maybe she's actually like going to have something constructive or like we're getting somewhere. And then she'll just come out with some joke. And I sent this hair ref of like what I think I'd like their hair to be like on the day. And I was talking about the bun, but this particular model had a bit of a fringe situation going on. And she was like, so do you want us to all get fringes? I was like, obviously not, Laura. Come on. Like, just look at the bun. I'm just going for a messy bun. And she was like, well, this is a lot, we're all going to have to get. And she's just played on that since then. And she's made me out to be this massive bridezilla.
That's so good. It's good to have a bridesmaid or maid of honor like that, though.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
To make it funny. How far into planning are you at the moment?
Very far.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's November.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's really creeping up. We've only got like 4.5 months now. It's pretty much all done. Obviously, there's things we need to finalise and everything, but when it comes to the vision of it in my mind and music and everything has kind of been locked in.
Yeah, Lauren and I got engaged early last year. Mm-hmm. It's been a long fucking time.
Congratulations.
And thanks. We are actually planning on getting married in Japan.
Oh, amazing.
So
any particular reason?
I I've got a very big Greek family.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got family that are over in the UK and Germany. And so I was thinking it'd be best to do it overseas because then I don't have to have too many obligations of people coming and whatnot. And we were there. We were there when I proposed and we were like, fuck, let's just go back here.
Okay, that's special. Yeah.
So, we're going to go back in October to book everything this year and then it'll be next year. But it just, it dawns on you how much work it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a lot of work. Now, speaking of true and false, the last one I had for you was, is it true that in an alternate universe, you would have been a play school host?
Oh my God, I actually told someone this today.
Did you?
Yes, I would. Yes, true.
Really?
True. I would when I was growing up, I was obsessed with play school, like Monica and George was my time. And I really loved arts and craft. I loved dancing and singing. So like all together and being on TV in front of the camera equaled play school to me.
Yeah.
I've also always loved kids. When I was finishing up school, other than modelling, the only thing I was really interested in was teaching, primary school teaching or PE teaching. So I just kind of put all of those interests together and one day decided, you know what, that means one day I'm going to be on play school. Never know. Put it out in the universe. Something might happen down the track, but no, obviously right now it's not. I feel like I'd have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I could see it wouldn't be keep it cleaner, would it? But I can definitely see a fourth brand there, a kids related brand.
Oh my God, I definitely could not take anything else on right now.
Yeah. I actually there's a guy I went to school with and he started a kids show on YouTube and it's amazing. Like, it's amazing how many views and how wide. Like, they have something like 1 billion views on one of their videos.
But that's kids. That's now,
kid stuff.
As
yeah.
young as, as soon as they can see colours moving, have things like iPads and phones now in their hands to watch things. So things like YouTube, I can see why are going, and even Netflix and everything are going so much better than TV.
Have you thought about that? Like, obviously kids are saying you think about. I've had this conversation with my cousin. When do you think it's all right to give kids access to that stuff?
I think it's easy for us to talk about because we don't have kids.
Yeah.
So I can be really quick to judge sometimes, and I would just be like, I wouldn't do that. But I don't have kids, and it's a really hard one to answer. I think I would like to try and bring my kid up as close to my growing up as possible, because I had a really good balance between getting to play on the Xbox or the Nintendo, having playing The Sims for 8 hours if I stayed home sick. Like all of those things I still loved, and I still went on the computer and I still did all that sort of stuff. But I still, went outside and played cricket with my brother. I went on the trampoline. I'd go for walks. Like I still had an outdoorsy or sporty kind of side of me, and I hope that my child and future will be kind of a mixture of both.
Did you ride bikes out on the street?
Yeah,
create bike jams and all that?
Everything.
Yeah.
I had an older brother, so kind of whatever he was interested in at the time I did. So I played all of the sports, literally everything. Tried all the different kind of dancing and singing and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, as I said, we'd do as much as we could in the backyard. I had a great imagination as a kid. I played with dolls and stuff until I was like 14, which is unheard of these days. Like,
it is quite rare. Was there a particular doll that you used?
It was Barbie for a long time, and then Bratz dolls.
Oh yeah, Bratz dolls. Lauren was showing me this video of her as a kid playing with Bratz dolls. They were the weirdest things.
So slutty looking. I mean, like, no offense, all power to them, like wearing those tiny, tiny little shorts and like thigh-high boots and everything. But like for a little girl to be playing with them, I actually look back and I think it's quite humorous. But no, I just loved them. I had an imagination and I could play by myself, but I think it started off with figurines with my brother, and then I started playing with the...
What were you imagining? Just different scenarios, conversations?
Yeah, but I was really into romance. So like if I had a Bratz doll, I had to have like the male version around.
Okay.
Or like if I had a Barbie, I had to have a Ken. Like, I don't know. It was weird. I had a weird, really strong imagination. But then, yeah, I still was a little bit of a nerd in the fact that I loved things like Sims or any kind of Xbox game. Was obsessed with Nintendo 64.
What was your game of choice on Nintendo?
Oh, Mario Kart.
Yeah, for sure.
Without fail.
I feel
Yoshi all the way.
I feel like every Nintendo was just sold with Mario Kart.
Absolutely.
Default game.
Yep.
Yeah. And Zelda. Did you ever play Zelda?
Yep. But I was much more a fan of all the Marios, like Mario Party and all of those over any other Nintendo game, I think.
Super Mario was always a classic for us. All right, there's a few things I want to focus on today, and sort of similar to Laura's. I'm intrigued about the principles that have sort of guided you to where you are now. And I think one of the most interesting things about you is that, if you consider most Instagram noteworthy people, a lot of what they do is about promoting other brands. But for you, you made this decision to create your own brands, which I think will probably be one of the smartest moves that you ever made.
Thanks.
And I'm intrigued to get into that lastly, but I think there was a few things that sort of set the groundwork for that. I mean, there's obvious things like modeling. But I think for you as a young kid, it seems like getting behind a camera was what gave you the confidence to even do modeling. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was a very confident kid. I got that from my dad. He basically just kind of taught us to be who we were and to be loud and proud about it. But I was...
Like, how did he do that, though? Did he just say it or he just did it?
He was very supportive. Like, I was a terrible singer, but my parents supported me all the way through it. And I really, like things like that. I don't know. They were just really supportive of any idea we had. And, my mum kind of from the very beginning always said to my brother and I, like, couldn't care less of money situations or schooling or anything. It's more like, as long as you're loving what you're doing, then we'll be proud of you. So I think that was really helpful towards the end of high school when things like modelling was coming up, when I got a lot of negativity thrown at me for the idea of going into it. Like, people were just judging, saying that it was a dead-end job or that, I was throwing myself into it because I was bad at school or that I thought I was so vain to do that. But my mum knew how much I loved all that sort of stuff, and she was totally fine with me having a gap year and giving it a go because she was like, if this is what's going to make you happy, I'm not going to force you to go to uni or to TAFE for anything because I know you and I know your brain switches off when you're not interested. But things where confidence came from, I don't know. I think having a supportive network definitely, and then having an older brother that also had a lot of confidence. I kind of looked up to him a lot, and the way he kind of held himself and was around his mates and everything. I just wanted to be him. He was a sports captain, so then I wanted to be a sports captain. Like, So I think a lot of my confidence came from him. And again, he was really supportive of me and we've always got along really well.
If you think about a principle then from that family environment that really stands out, would you highlight it as that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's amazing what siblings can do for us, isn't it? It's really good to hear. I think the other thing as well that's really guided you was meeting Laura. Mm-hmm. I feel like the two of you have a very unique relationship as best friends. I think you've only known each other for 5 or 6 years now, right?
Yep.
And it was really interesting getting her to give me notes. I think she was saying that when you first met each other at Fashion Week, the thing that she respected about you is you were the one that would come up to people and just sort of naturally pull others together, start a conversation, not sit in the corner and sort of munch on your biscuits or snack or whatever. Have you always been like that?
Yes, like I think it comes under confidence. I just like to be loud and talk and everything. But at the same time, I do love my alone time and I do love my own space. But I think in a situation like that where you're about to do a show with a bunch of girls or you're about to spend a lot of time with people, I like to make sure that I'm really comfortable with those people. I think that's totally different to then opting to have alone time. I've never been shy.
Yeah.
I've never understood that.
Yeah.
From anyone. So I don't know. But meeting Laura, I saw her and I could tell that she was nervous. I've never actually spoken so much about this. But I could tell she was nervous, but she just seemed lovely. I think that just oozes out of her.
Yeah.
She doesn't even need to say anything and you just know she's going to be a nice person.
Well, when she gave me the notes, I could literally see her in that classic Henshaw way, just like beaming ear to ear.
And I remember bumping into her in a few fittings and stuff like that. And I think we've both had similar mindsets on, I don't know, we both hated the fittings process because basically things just didn't fit us right. And it was like, what can we put these girls in? So I think I just vibed with her on that and we just got along really well and we were put on a lot of the same shows. So we spent a lot of time together and I don't know, just gelled.
I think, the two of you, this what I was saying in Laura's episode, the two of you learnt about the difference between fit and thin at the exact same time, and it was sort of reaffirmed with this shared experience.
Yeah.
It's quite unique in that regard, but I guess there would be a lot of other girls that now are in a similar field that would have felt the same way. It's just that the two of you found each other. Yeah,
I think it was that. And I mean, when we first met, that was still super fresh. Like we hadn't gone through our lowest lows yet. We were still new. I'd been modelling for about a year or so. Laura was really fresh into the industry and it was then after those shows that we then both moved overseas for a little while. She went to Europe, I went to New York and LA and that's when we kept in touch online and realised that we were both going through really similar things. So when we met, as much as we had kind of like insecurities or whatever, it was just on a total normal modelling kind of, I don't know, feeling uncomfortable getting changed in front of people and being judged kind of way. And then after that overseas experience, it was like, okay, this is a major issue that we both have. And they were different, but totally related to each other. And I think that's, as you said, we just kind of found each other and knew that we weren't the only ones going through it. Yeah. It must be a weird fucking thing with modelling to have, you literally are a clothes horse when you first start out doing that. Yeah. They're just like, oh, get your clothes off, chuck this on. Like, it must be fucking bizarre. Yeah. Yeah. Super strange. I mean, again, this is so weird. I'm throwing this out there, but I was total nudist as a child. So like for me, I've never ever been awkward getting changed in front of, other models, like backstage, whatever. It's more the casting process is the worst and the most daunting part. Like the people sitting there on their chair. And I remember one bad modelling experience I had with a particular brand. The main designer and head of the brand was there for the start of the shoot and I was really fresh into modelling, so I was really young. And I remember getting to the shoot and they barely even had a change room. And this is really, really fresh in my career. So this is probably not to the point where I was used to getting changed in front of people. Okay. And I was getting changed behind this clothing rack and I was just in my nude G-string and a nude strapless bra. And before I got into my outfit that they had for me, he was like, hang on, like let me have a look at you. And he came in on the other, and I was like, okay, this is weird anyway. And I literally had to like slowly rotate in front of him because he was telling me that it was, you know, all the different body types that they hire like would look certainly like good with certain styles.
Okay.
But that because I was so fresh to the industry, I was like, this is so
this
normal.
Is fucking weird.
But then like throughout the day, you know, he'd like go to fix something like really close to bad areas and stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't so normal. It didn't work for them again.
Wow.
But things like that happen all the time. So I think you grow a bit of a thick skin when it comes to like being nude and everything. But the whole being judged part of it is not really something that you can get used to.
So you never really cared what people thought?
Of me, no. I didn't care unless the only time I really cared was when I went overseas and I was really diving deep into massive dreams of mine that I thought were completely unreachable, but I was going to go for it anyway.
Yeah.
And my agencies were telling me I was far off and that they wouldn't even want to send me to castings. That's the point where I started caring, and that's the point where I lost a lot of my own self.
And so that was that time in America.
Yeah.
It seems. I assumed that what you envisaged, because I see so many people commented as well that the archetype you had in your head was the Victoria's Secret
Absolutely.
model, right?
Pretty much 9 out of 10 models, their goal is to end up in Victoria's Secret. But for me particularly, being a commercial model and being that I did a lot of swim and lingerie, it was like, I need to do Victoria's Secret. That was like the biggest thing ever. So that's the only reason I went to the States really, was to be able to be in a position where I could meet with someone. And I remember having my first casting with them. It wasn't for the show or anything. It was just, I think it was for online, their e-commerce. And I went in, the person that was casting me was like a nobody, barely looked at me. Like literally didn't even look at me when they said hello, like got me to quickly get in this bikini, took some snaps of me, and then said thanks, and I had to walk out. And I was so deflated because I had this whole vision of like,
fuck.
Oh my God, I'm walking into the Victoria's Secret office. This is going to be amazing. And then I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So it's just like any other job. I've got to treat it like any other job.
Yeah.
Had a few other castings and everything throughout my time there with them. Nothing ever happened. But I think that's when I still had the thick dream of doing it, but I just had to treat it like everything else.
I think that's one of the things when you first start working, you realize I remember when I first started in the finance industry, I had these ideas of grandeur, and like my first job was the biggest letdown ever, and it actually turned me off the industry completely. And I was just like, fuck this, like this is horrible. And I can imagine it being like that.
Yeah, it was. But I think the main reason why it was a bit of a letdown was because I had no support from my agency over there. Like my agency over there were pretty much sending me to the casting, almost telling me that I wasn't going to get it. And they were only putting me forward to it because I was like, no, like please.
Jesus.
So that's why it was deflating, because I just felt like no one really believed in me over there. Yeah. But I was still going for, I don't know, I was just really, it was, yeah.
Now, this ties in pretty well to this. Is saying that because I asked Laura, what do you wish you could tell her more often? And she said that she wants you to know that she's doing an incredible job and is so respected and admired by everyone around her. And I think that if you think about where you are now in comparison to being that supposed Victoria's Secret model, I think you're in a pretty good place.
Oh, absolutely. And the two aren't really comparable. Like my modelling industry or career, I mean, I'm still doing it on the side, but there's nothing more rewarding than what we do. And so I don't really like to compare the two careers because they bring different things to me. Like modelling, I still want to have a connection with because it's something I've always loved, like since I was a toddler, liked being on the other side of the camera. And it's still something I enjoy at the time. It's a passion.
Yeah.
But KIC is my baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. I would never compare the two, except for that feeling of reward. It's like, you know, I could get Victoria's Secret and it probably still wouldn't feel as good as when we meet some of the girls and they've said that we've changed their lives.
Yeah. What have you learnt from being in business and your friendship with Laura?
Ooh, that's a really hard one. A lot. It's like never ending. Every day we're learning. We're both learning every day, but I think something that we've done really well is, I don't know, we never really sat down and decided who was going to do what. Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, we never did.
Fuck.
We never did. Jerry, who you've had on, he was like, what do you mean you haven't done that? Like every business partner needs to do that.
Wow.
But we just kind of we know each other's strengths and we both kind of steer towards our strengths anyway. And so we just
sort of just there in osmosis.
Yeah, I don't know. It just works.
Yeah.
And we're both we've spoken in the past about being really open and honest with each other and having that open communication so that if there was ever felt any unbalance or anything needed, whatever, we're always honest with each other. So as you said before, we have a very unique friendship and business relationship. But I think it's just that we have complete and utter respect for each other.
Yeah. With the business, what do you think you both individually excel at? Like if I was to look at it from an outsider, I would say you are clearly, I've said you're both very smart marketers, but I feel like you really get marketing brands, and she's always been the type that has been she loves nuts and bolts, if that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'd say that Laura is probably one of her biggest strengths, or what she keeps for our business, is the not so much structure, but she's incredibly organised, and I think a lot with her law degree has helped her in staying really focused and working through really hard times and stuff like paperwork or knowing numbers. She loves numbers, whereas I hate numbers. I'm just not a numbers person. So she's, across all that, and she finds that really interesting and really easy to keep up with and all that sort of stuff. It's really hard to explain. And then I'd say my side, I steer a lot more only because it comes naturally to me. It always has, even throughout high school, is the creative side or not so much, kind of the big picture side, but I suppose throughout the aspirations and the ideas, and I've got a little bit more of a eye for visual stuff. If to make it super basic, if we're throwing a design for a new protein bar, Laura will be like, oh, it looks cute, love it, and then I'll be like, well, that looks completely off balance, or maybe let's try that with that color. So it's just a little bit more of a visual thing for me, I think. Yeah,
so she's always been an analytical type, whereas you've always been the creative type.
I think so. But then that's not to say she still obviously is a massive part of the creative process.
Yeah.
We still bounce off ideas. I just think that that's kind of where we naturally steer more towards.
It's very, very obvious. I could see Laura flourishing as a partner at a law firm.
Yeah.
I couldn't see you doing that.
Except she would hate the work, though. She just there's so much of law she hates.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
The billables would be great, but the actual work itself would be the most draining thing in comparison to what you do now.
Yeah, I just think that for me, it's funny because when I was younger, I never imagined myself to be an entrepreneur or own my own business. But at the same time, I never saw myself working for someone.
Yeah.
So as surprising as it is that I do run some businesses now or whatever, it's I really don't really go well with working for someone.
People, yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think I'm just really confident and headstrong and
you're a natural salesman. I mean, why else do modeling? Because when you're a model, your boss is you.
Yeah. And
you're really selling yourself a lot of the time to people hey, pick me.
Yeah.
It's just a sort of, you're like a contractor in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you never really had a boss.
Yeah. I mean, I worked part-time my whole high school. As soon as I was old enough, I was Bags Delight.
Yeah.
Did Bags Delight till I was 18, Boost Juice, Spray, Osmosis. I loved working. But I just think when I thought of the big picture, I just knew that it wasn't for someone else. Yeah. That sounds so bad. I don't know why. It's just
Well, it's interesting thing about it now in hindsight. You said in one of your interviews about how you excelled at Baker's Delight, and it makes sense because you've in a way you've got to be sort of customer savvy, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, you don't want that loaf, you want this one, it's warmer.
Yeah, but you also just have to be that friendly face every time.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
What was your thing of choice? Because I remember working at a bakery, I used to clean not a Baker's Delight, it was sort of a suburban bakery type thing. And I'd have to clean all the dishes like straight after school. I come in at like 3:30 and be done by like 6. And then they'd have all these leftover croissants and sausage rolls and stuff. What was your like go-to leftover thing? Or were they super tight?
No, they were so good. It was so good. I was so popular in school in the common room because I got to bring so many snacks home the next day. So I'd literally just take like a lot of the, because there's people who pick up, the leftover bread and that goes to charities, homes or farms or all these different places, but they can't take anything with dairy. So all of the like cheese cabinets or sweets and stuff like that, they couldn't take anything from the front cabinet. So I'd just like fill the big bags full and then take them to the common room the next day. As to like what my favorites were, I really liked working on Easter because it meant that you'd work at like 4 a.m. and pack hot cross buns when they're fresh from the oven. And having hot cross buns fresh from the oven is like the best thing ever.
One of the greatest things.
One of the greatest things. So probably the Baked Light hot crust buns, the chocolate ones.
Okay.
Or they had a passion fruit and white chocolate scone, which I really liked.
Really?
Yeah, it's really random. But
I don't remember that at all.
And then a chocolate croissant always.
Okay.
I just like chocolate.
I noticed popcorn and chocolate.
Yep.
That was one of the other true false questions she gave me, but I digress. On brand. So when you've got 3 now, right? When did you decide, you know what, I'm actually going to create something as opposed to, because it's hard enough to grow an audience and it's a lot easier to say, okay, I've got this audience now, let's talk about something that I like. Mm-hmm. To then go on top of building that audience and building a brand is something else. It's like, it's a lot of work. So why did you come to that decision? Well,
because at the start, I would just take on different posting jobs and all that. And I just thought it was really exciting. It was brand new when I started. I was the first person at Chadwick's modelling agency to have a following. So they didn't even know how to, at one point they were like, hang on, should we be getting commission from this? Or like, how is this working? And I was like, no. But we're in a really good place. I've been with them for 7 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a really interesting time and I just took on a lot. And then I think I then went through the transition of, actually, I should probably only be posting what I genuinely love and use and not, because I think at the start it was, you didn't even get paid. It was more just like you got free stuff.
Yeah,
and
that was the old thing back then.
There was no pay, no talk of pay.
Wow. Yeah, I remember my cousin, she had this thing, it was called Fun, Fresh and Healthy.
Okay.
And she had like 50,000 followers or something.
Yeah,
she's like a 16-year-old and they just gave her like protein powder and like this is probably 6 years ago.
Yeah, so it was all just for the free perks. And I was modelling full-time at the time and I was really lucky. I had a lot of regular clients. So when I say modelling full-time, for me, that was 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And so that was taking up most of my time and then it was just a fun thing to do on the side. And then as I said, I was more careful with who I was posting for. There was a few clients that I started to get to know, like Bondi Sands and everything, who kind of would come back for more and more. And then I kind of was like, okay, well, this is obviously working for them. And that's when pay started to come into it. And I just kind of thought, well, maybe that means I've got a pretty engaged audience. If they're coming back for more and they're paying me and it's working for them, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
And then it was when, as we were talking about before, that moment when Laura and I kind of realised, there is more girls that are going through this. At the time, I was getting so many messages on my diet and like what I was eating.
Yeah. It was one of the biggest amount of questions that we got as well.
Really?
Yeah, still.
Oh my God. There you go. Probably give it cleaner. No, it was like a massive thing. And I would cook, because I was living by myself in New York, I was cooking all my own meals and everything. So people were always asking me where I got these recipes from. And to tell you the truth, they were all made up. Like savoury-wise, I just throw stuff in a dish and like put it together.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Pretty much.
Wow.
But I remember Laura had a blog and she had some really, really beautiful, sweet recipes that I used to follow on her blog. So often I would be like, guys, if you're wondering where I get this like muffin recipe from or whatever, it's Food, Fit and Repeat.
Uh-huh.
And then I was kind of like, well, I have a lot of savoury recipes that I'd love to write down and share one day. And Laura likes to always bring this up, but I had a dream, an actual dream. And we caught up for coffee and then I said, look, Laura, I had this dream. Ebooks were really big at the time.
That's right.
And I was like, yep. And I was like, we're going to make an ebook. I would like to make a recipe book, but I have no sweet recipes. So I think you should put some of your sweet recipes in my book. And that's how it started. It was like my book, and if you look at the old cover, it's like Steph Claire Smith's Keep It Clean. Laura's in the back. And now we look back at that, obviously, because we're so incredibly even in everything now. It's like, what the hell? How did that even start like that? But that's how it started. And I was like, I can't do this without you. I love your recipes. And she was like, no one's going to pay for this. You know, why would anyone pay for my recipes? I was like, because they're good and because they're asking for them. Let's just see how it goes.
See, this is how it works. Now I'm starting to get it, because you're the one who understands what sells and what markets, and she's obviously making this great thing. You also, in a way, make your own thing in this space.
Yeah.
Combine it together and you've got like a product. So it was Keep It Cleaner that came first, not Midnight Co.
No, it was Keep It Clean.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
That was first. And then Midnight, how that started. So Ethan, Josh's brother, when he was super young, I think he was like 19, he worked for his dad for a year after school to earn some money. Okay. And then he went straight to Bali, went through this like fashion course of starting his own brand and decided to start Midnight. And it started off as a menswear label.
That's right.
And very soon after that, he wanted to do female stuff. And he got me on board for that because he's like, I don't know what girls want to wear. Like,
so what was the approach like? What did he say to you? He's like, hey, Steph, I'm trying to do this thing.
Well,
Can you
we're
help?
really close. And I was well aware of Midnight and I was already trying to help him with that. But there was obviously only so much I could do for males.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much just literally made what I wanted to wear. Like I found a couple of my old favorite shirts, like tops and everything, combined them all together. And I was like, let's try this in this color and because that's what I want in my wardrobe. Like that's how the design process started. And the female stuff went a lot better than male. And then we released like a really simple line of bikinis and they killed it. Like, they smash it over our clothes. So he ended up just dropping the clothing line and keeping it to Midnight bikinis.
When did the bikinis come out? I feel like that was not too long, like at least 3-4 years, but still feels like pretty recent.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 years ago, and we've just like slowly released a few things from there. It's been a really we've learned a lot, Ethan and I, with Yeah, it's a very different business to run to Keep It Cleaner. So I've learned a lot on the side, but Ethan does all the grunt work. He's pretty much everything. I'm just there to okay the designs, to model it, and to put it out there. But he does everything. And as a one-man show, he does a really good job.
Wow, so it's literally just him on his own?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I really, he's done really well.
Yeah. And so the deal was you came on as a partner in the business?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. To this day, I haven't taken a cent out of it or anything. But he's going to be my brother. He was always one of my best mates anyway. So I wasn't doing it for that, and I kind of enjoyed the process anyway. He's obviously said since, you're not getting anything from this and all that sort of stuff. It's not that, but that's not what I'm doing it for.
Yeah.
He was so passionate about it and he was so happy, and I'd never seen him happier than when he started it. So I just wanted it to go well for him.
And Soda. So
yes.
Soda was an interesting one. I think I actually saw Josh did a few stories the other night and he was talking about how you two used to pinch each other's sunnies or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of girls have, something that they collect, whether it's shoes or bags, or they've always got a lot of things. Mine is bikinis and sunnies. For a long time, I had literally any kind of style of sunnies you could imagine, and it was just scattered on this massive cupboard of mine. And a lot of them were guys' sunnies or, unisex. But
just whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I just loved sunglasses, and so did Josh. And it actually started an idea. We were working with a friend on his sunglasses brand, and the idea of doing our own designs came up, and we had a play there, and then that kind of fell through and nothing ever happened there. But ever since we did that, we became really invested in that idea, and we always wanted to do something together and work together on something. And so we kind of kept that on the back burner. And when we started thinking more about it, because Josh was thinking about leaving his job with his dad, he's like, I can't just do influencing or just take photos of some models who need I need something else to do.
So that was the catalyst.
Yeah, and also a massive one would be our good friends Luke and G Saggers, who are now our business partners in Soda. They knew of our idea and really wanted to be part of it, and there was so much that we couldn't do on our own that they've fit in perfectly, and we're just a really good team. We work together really well, and Soda wouldn't be here without any of us.
Yeah, it's very well done. Like I was doing a bit of analysis on it the other day, and you've hit a mark. It's sort of like the party brand. Like I can see where aesthetically you have an idea, and everything has got to fit around that idea.
Yeah.
Did you always think, okay, so Soda? Like I know that G came up with the name Soda. It was going to be like God, it was some like very. What was the name that you had previous?
Oh God, I can't. It was
something Licious.
It was. I can't remember, but it was a lot longer, and I just remember.
Yeah, it was
took
super
us
long.
so long to decide. It took us so long to decide. We felt like it was like naming a child.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, what are we going to call this? And I think the way that G won us over with that was there was just so many ways we could play with the word. You know, like the soda can or. The classic, you know, it's a classic name. All this stuff, and the fact that it was short and it could make cute little like logos. I don't know. It just at the end we were like, all right, let's go for it. Actually, and now I just couldn't. It's like Keep It Cleaner though. When we first came up with Keep It Clean, we just hated the sound of it. And then when we added like Keep It Cleaner, we were like, that just sounds even worse. But now we just couldn't imagine it as anything else. So
KIC works.
KIC is great.
KIC is easy.
It's much easier to say.
Didn't you come up with that on like the first podcast episode? Like the shortening thing became a bit of a meme then, or was it before then?
It was before then. It was before then with our old program KIC Girls.
Okay.
So we'd always shortened it like to each other in messages and stuff. We'd always written KIC. We never were to bother of writing Keep It Cleaner. But when we were coming up with slogans and stuff for our old program, we were like, well, we always call it KIC. Why don't we just make it actually KIC Girls? So that's kind of where it became more of a thing that we used more commonly. Okay.
So when you were thinking about this brand, when you're first creating it, what's swirling?
Which one are we talking about?
Like let's say Soda, the most recent one. What's swirling around in your head? Is it, you know, the marketing's got to look like this, or do you literally just have like an image in your head of yourself wearing these sunnies in a scenario, and then everything sort of builds out from there, whether it's with actual marketing or the product or whatever it may be?
Yeah, so I think we were like, G is just so great with her ideas, and the things that she pitches to us for marketing ideas are just so creative. Really lucky to have her a part of the team. And I just think we always imagined it exactly how it is, as in what we bring to the table with Soda. We weren't going to bother unless we brought something different. You know, there is plenty of sunglasses brands out there that are great, but the things that we wanted to make sure was that young people had access to good quality sunglasses that were polarized, that, you know, had all of the glitz and glamour, some of the more expensive ones.
Yeah.
But we're under $100 because everyone sits on their sunnies or loses them or whatever. But we didn't want to market ourselves too low because it was still a great quality product. So it's like, it's one of those things. It's not just, you don't just bump up the price so that you make money from it. It's not just that. It's like you don't want to gift away something incredible for way too much less than anyone else would, because it's then almost...
We need to put the money back into it. It needs to be worth it.
Absolutely. But I think, having them under $100, it's in this kind of styles that are cool, but it's also a lot of classic shapes and styles as well. We're not too funky fashion. We've worked out kind of what works for us, but we did have to start off with just a few styles to kind of get that idea, because we weren't sure what people were going to gravitate towards.
Okay. Did you have, you probably had a few styles in the beginning of what you really wanted?
Yeah, for sure. We did. Similar to kind of what I did with Midnight, I had a couple of different, I literally had 4, the Marilyn, for example, is one of our most popular styles, sells out every time we release it. That was one of our first styles, and that was a combination between 4 of my favourite sunnies. I found that I don't know, these colours, and then this kind of corner of the cat eye, and then I like the way this arm bends, and it was just like I was piecing towards, and it just worked. I mean, I will never call myself a sunglasses designer because that's not what I am, and luckily we have our manufacturers are on board now, so they help a lot with our design process.
Yeah. Well, I can see how it's sort of like The Sims, except it's not a house, but it's sunglasses, you know,
and it's real.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah. It's real shit that you're making. No, I can see that. I can see that definitely.
Yeah.
Your work ethic is something of legend, I hear.
Really?
Yeah, a few people have mentioned this a few times now.
That's nice.
How do you look at your like, where do you think this comes from? Do you think your parents just sort of ingrained that from an early age?
My work ethic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, going back to what my mum always said, to make sure you were enjoying what you were doing. And then I think I'm just fortunate. I know I'm fortunate to enjoy what I do because I know not everyone has the opportunity to be loving the career they're in. So I don't know, though. They're both really hard workers. They always have been. And they've always kind of motivated us to try our hardest in whatever we were doing. Yeah. They were okay with us failing, and they made sure that we were, we weren't under too much pressure in things like schooling or sports or whatever that we wanted to try out, but as long as we did our best. So I think that has been ingrained in me. But it's also the fact that I've been working since I was 14. Yeah. I have been fired from a job before, like learning those kind of things.
It's the fact as well that you've got those obligations. I feel like when you...
responsibility.
When you've got that responsibility, you've just got to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to having the responsibility online, the reason we're continuously so motivated with KIC is because we know what it's doing for young girls out there, and we were those young girls. And I think I was so easily influenced back then that I couldn't even imagine being like, a teenager right now and not knowing kind of what I know. So I just, as many people as that we can help as possible, that keeps us ticking, that keeps us working really hard. Yeah,
I remember when Laura said that, I was like, okay, I get it now. Like, so the little archetype she's got in her head is a little Laura and a little Steph.
Pretty much.
And that's who you're aiming for, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, when we wrote our book, that was targeted, like, what would I have wanted to read when I was going through school? And we just wrote chapters to ourselves, basically. So, yeah, I think that goes to the same with everything we do with KIC.
Now, work ethic. Jerry's got a crazy work ethic.
Yeah.
What have you learned from him? Because that was sort of a newer, getting into the app business is very different to product marketing. So I'm curious as to what you've learned from those guys at Playside.
There's so much, but one thing that's popping into my mind, we go to Jerry for a lot of advice when it comes to, working with your team and all that sort of stuff, being that he's built up an incredible team with Playside and worked with his business partners the whole way through and all that sort of stuff. So we go to him for a lot of that kind of advice, and he's extremely helpful. But something that like the whole of Playside, but particularly Jerry, has really helped both myself and Laura with is to be able to step away from certain jobs or there's certain things I think that we're both like, I'm a bit of a control freak. I don't really like to let go.
Yeah. I heard you like responding to support emails.
Yeah, so we were both very much into that at the start, and I think that was important at the start that we were there and our voices were there because it really did help. Like, a lot of the time the girls felt really touched and like really personal, and we still are. We check into our Facebook community and stuff like that every day. But I think things like, being over all of the customer support, knowing everything that ever went wrong, all this little stuff. One day he was just kind of like, you can't always fix it, and there's a lot of the aspects, particularly like tech side and everything, like what are we going to do to help? We have no idea if the app was to crash or if a girl's subscription was to end or whatever. There's so much that we don't know how that works. So we've got to leave that to who we've hired to do that and not stress too much, because we need that energy to then be the faces of it and to run all the events and to go see the girls and to give them 100% all the time or to film all the content. Like, if we're too concerned about everything else, it can really run us, I don't know, down. But it's still hard to let go. There's still, like, we're still a part of everything.
Do you think that him saying that to you was like the trigger to be like, okay, now I've got an excuse not to be doing that? Or do you struggle, like, do you fight with that still to this day?
I think I'm good now. I think for a while I was still struggling, but things like, for example, reading reviews.
Okay.
I've like refused to now. Basically.
Reviews of the app?
Podcasts, the app. Basically, I refuse to read them now.
Yeah, don't do that.
So for a long time, and Laura still does, and I tell her every day not to, because if it gets you on a bad day, it doesn't matter how strong you are or how confident you are in the business. If it gets you on a bad day, it can really really hurt you. And some people are just so mean with the stuff that they write that is not constructive whatsoever.
Yeah.
That just makes me think like, how did you even think like, oh, I didn't like this, so I'm going to stop it. And instead of just getting out of it, I'm going to tell everybody how much I hated it and what I really think about you. And I just sometimes, so anyway, I've gotten to a point now where I don't even read them because I'm much better off not knowing. And we know for a fact that, you know, people that work with us in our team are across all that sort of stuff. So if there is ever anything constructive, they'll tell us.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's still important to definitely take on constructive criticism, but it's the crap that's not necessary that I don't need in my life every day. So I've stepped away from that.
Well, I remember when Laura came over, we were in the kitchen, we're getting our tea, and she was just telling me about, like, you guys had just launched the KIC Pod, and she was saying that she was, there was like a 1-star review and I had to go read it. And then like she was reading it out to me. I'm like, this person fucking has no idea. Like most of the time, most people they just don't know. Like they never will, and there's nothing you can do to change your opinion. Yeah. And like you said, knowing about it is wholly unpractical.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that I noticed that there was, because there's a lot of shit that comes through in the questions, like just fucking people ask some dumb questions. I'm sorry if I'm not going to say who these people were, but there was definitely some dumb stuff in there. But it tied into this idea of confidence, but also building a thick skin. Like sort of, I noticed there was a lot of younger girls who were sort of like, how do you think about not caring what other people think? And it sort of seems, based on how we've been chatting now, that you just don't.
Yeah.
So how would you communicate that to someone who does, and to teach them how to build that over time?
Yeah. I mean, I know I said before that I don't. I definitely do. It definitely affects me. It affects anybody. And there's days when someone's opinion really gets to me and can play on an insecurity of mine. So I think something that Laura and I have both noticed is the more honest and real and open we are with people, whether it's accepting an insecurity of ours or, I almost spilled my tea, kind of sharing that with the world. It's kind of like, I've got this. I am insecure about it because I'm a normal human being and we all have our insecurities. So come at me. Like it's not, whereas if I'm sitting quietly scared about something or insecure about something and then I see a comment that feeds into that's where it's like, whereas usually the people that see a post where you share an insecurity or you get really real with them and then they're still mean, you just know that they're a terrible person.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a bit different.
I think as well, because you seem to say it a lot, I think that the idea of affirmations, I've sort of learned indirectly, could be very powerful. Like the simple fact that you say, like, I just don't care, it'll just be there in the back of your mind.
Fake
like
it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like if you see something, I'm sure that you would see something and go, oh, I just don't care.
Yeah.
And then it would sort of reaffirm that belief in your head and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
For sure. But there's definitely other things you can do. Like, for example, when we talk to young girls and they want to know how they can build up their self-confidence or how they can, learn to love the skin they're in and all that sort of stuff. The first thing we say is you need to love more of yourself than what you look like. Like it's not all about physical appearance and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time as appreciating all your qualities, maybe it's, what you're good at or your hobbies you like, all that sort of stuff, or how nice you are as a person, or if you're selfless, all these beautiful traits. It's not just about acknowledging them. You still need to be able to give yourself a compliment. You still need it. There's always something that you like about yourself physically as well. And I think the best way to actually learn those things is to take compliments. A lot of girls automatically, as soon as they get complimented, whether it's from their partner or their best friend, it's like, oh, nah, it's just the lighting, or, oh, no, it's the clothes, or no, I don't know what you're talking about. So actually sit back, thank them and let that sink in.
Okay.
And sometimes those compliments can end up being things that you appreciate in yourself because you've actually listened and acknowledge them. So we get girls to write down things that they like about themselves, both physical and non-physical. And it feels really awkward and weird the first time you do it. But unfortunately, for some reason, we feel unnatural to put to bring ourselves up, but it's so natural for us to look in the mirror and put ourselves down. So it's about flipping that and just trying to teach girls that it's okay to flip that. And I think for me, I'm really passionate about it because growing up, I was really confident. And I used to get teased for it. Like I would get teased because I was confident in myself or I did like myself, you know.
That classic tall poppy syndrome.
It's so now it's like, well, no, actually we should be teaching girls to be happy in their own skin and to feel confident. Like that shouldn't be something that they get put down for feeling good about themselves. Like that's so backwards. So, yeah.
The compliment thing's interesting. I never really thought about it, but I'm terrible with compliments. I almost don't like acknowledging them. I feel like it's weird. I don't know. Maybe that's an actual issue with Australian culture in general. It's like, oh, nah, mate. Nah, I'm sweet. Nah, don't worry about it.
I don't know why. Like, why is it that we automatically kind of just like shrivel up and it's like, oh, don't say that.
Yeah.
Like, what would you rather them say?
Oh, fuck you.
You look shit today.
Exactly. Now, what is one thing I was thinking about when I was going through a lot of these, like I consumed so many bloody Steph Smith interviews for this research, but I was curious, what does the media never ask you that you just wish they did?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, man, because like I share a lot. I share a lot of my life. So there's not really a lot that people don't know about me. And then if there is anything that I don't share, it's like for a good reason. So I wouldn't want people asking me about it. What do they know? I don't know. I think it's refreshing having an interview like this where it's not the usual, you know, what's your day on the plate kind of thing.
What's in your wardrobe? What do you eat for your breakfast?
Day on the plate and your exercise routine. I just feel like sending them the Keep It Cleaner link. You know, like I appreciate talking about things like business and, you know, relationships and confidence and all that sort of stuff, or, you know, you as a person. I love talking about all that stuff because I think it's really important to talk about everything. And where was I going with that?
The stuff that they ask regularly, like that annoys you. I'd agree. Like I remember speaking to Shameless about it when they were in, and it's weird in women's media, like in that sort of the glossy mag stuff, how it's always like the same. I guess it's the same in sport journalism, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always the same thing. It's like food, makeup, you know, some dramatic event in that person's life.
Yeah. And I think...
layer a clickbait title over the top.
Yeah. I think why I like talking about more than just food and exercise is because I know I'm a lot more than that. And the thing that frustrates Laura and I is, you know, in our book or on our podcast, like we do share a lot more than just health stuff, you know. We like to talk to inspirational women or people who are killing it in their jobs or whatever. At the end of the day, we're businesswomen. So we like talking about businesses or career choices or, you know, backgrounds of people, whereas we've been told before that we needed to stay in our lane and kind of just stick to the health space. And it's like, well, why?
Fuck that.
Why though? Like, why can't we?
Yeah, they would just put another, what did my grandma used to say? Another feather in your cap. Like, that's just like, no one has ever been unique by being really, really good at one thing. They're generally really good at a combination of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the same time. I mean, if you think about it, you're both very good at marketing in your own ways. You're adept at, let's call it health, which is, you know, fitness, lifestyle, all that stuff. But you also know how to sell stuff. So you match that together and you've actually got an entrepreneur. But if you're only good at fitness and the media and all that, then you'd just be an influencer and you wouldn't have a brand that could go for many, many years to come.
Yeah.
I've never understood that. I remember I read this book by Scott Adams, the guy who drew Dilbert.
Okay.
And he was just talking about that fact, like the most advanced people who do things generally have a combination of two completely opposite skills that come in handy. All right. When you're social media scrolling,
yes,
what pisses you off the most?
I'm really good at unfollowing things now. You know, I think for a while there I thought I had this pressure that I had to follow everyone that I met or anyone that kind of was somebody that people followed. But now I've realised that, you know, I mean, I don't spend as much time scrolling as I used to, for sure. I don't have time for that. But when I do, I understand how much it consumes you and how much you actually take in, whether you know it or not. And so I've just been more careful with what I am looking at. So I like to keep it more to like my actual friends or people I look up to, but I still then follow, like the pretty travel accounts or like food, like there's still all of that.
There's a few select ones as opposed to all of them.
Yeah. But I think things that I don't, that's a really tough one. I don't like it when people are still pushing backwards messaging when it comes to the
backwards messaging?
As in, that's a really stupid way of putting it. Like when I know that someone's got an influence over a lot of young girls and they're kind of pushing a message that's, and I'm not saying we're right and everyone needs to push our message. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. But when I read something that is being pushed by quite a popular influencer that I know is going to damage a young girl's mind or brain or they're going to buy it absolutely, it kind of upsets me because it's a massive responsibility to have the following that we do. I've noticed that and I've taken that on board, and I don't take advantage of it or anything, but I know that people still do, and that frustrates me.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I feel like you've spoken about it in the past. It's these diet-related things.
Yeah. And it's not like, not all diets are bad. There's definitely diets out there that still make total sense and that still work for people. Yeah. And, like things like Keep It Cleaner, for example, doesn't work for everyone. That's why there's a number of health programs and lifestyle programs and gyms and PT. There's so many different ways people can be active or live their life. So we're never preaching that, what we say is the only message, but there's certain messages that are way too fad.
Yeah, it's a silver bullet
and damaging.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like drink this thing and you'll shit out 5 kilos.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
that's
you'll
exactly
be light. Like you'll be happy days. Yeah, that stuff is truly bizarre to me.
It's just bizarre that it's still happening. Like, I get it at the start when all that sort of stuff was happening. I get it. Everyone was like experimenting with what they could push, and there was so many different things out there people wanted to follow. But nowadays, people understand the power of it. People understand how you can sell things so instantly. Why take advantage of it still? I don't know.
Yeah. All right, we're going to jump into some short, fast questions.
Okay.
Understanding, but before that,
yes,
the thing I wanted to ask you, because there's something that Lauren and I have been chatting about recently is kids, right? So how do you think you're running these businesses, like my cousin gives me input on the right time and all that sort of stuff. Like, how have you thought about when is what are the principles that you're using for that? Like, are you like, all right, 3 years, definitely going to get pregnant, or is it like, okay, I'll just do it when I'm ready and this shit is past at the moment?
I'm like smiling ear to ear. I'm like the cluckiest person ever, and particularly right now in my life, extremely clucky.
Why particularly now?
Well, I think some of my friends have had babies.
Uh-huh.
So, and I just, I'm going to be married this year, and
yeah, it's the same thing.
All this sort of stuff's happening, but literally ever since I knew what a baby was, I've loved babies and kids and everything. But yeah, particularly, I don't know, I'm 25 now, and to a lot of people that's still super young to be thinking about that sort of stuff. But I always had this number in my mind that I was going to be 27 when I have a baby. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to have a baby in 2 years because we've got a lot to do with KIC. But it's also one of those things. Laura and I are very open and honest with each other, and I think we're both as clucky as each other. Yeah. But we both also see KIC as our baby. So it's a tough one. I think, as you said, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to try and calculate it too much.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say as well that it's ages away.
Yeah. We're at that age now where, people are asking.
Yeah.
You see like so many people having kids at the moment.
Yeah.
I've always been like, I'm fucking obsessed with just growing up in a Greek family. Yeah. There's so many kids around.
Yeah.
And my uncle just harasses the shit out of me about it. I don't know. It's definitely a topic of conversation for Laura and I at the moment. I know you guys, you're still eyeing off expanding internationally, right?
Yes. Yeah, so that'll be our big project probably next year, is to work on that sort of side of it. So yeah, as I said, there's still so much we want to do with it before we can. And also we want to make sure our team is great and we have all the trust in the world with our team, but we're still, as I said to you before when we were talking about Jerry and stepping back from things, we're not ready yet. We love being a part of every step way too much to even think about stepping back for kids just yet.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting when you have kids. There will be none of that shit. All right. Let's jump into some short, fast rapid fire questions.
Okay.
What's in the fridge?
Right now?
Just in general.
What's in the fridge? There's always this is so bad. There's always milk, but we never bloody finish it because I buy it each month thinking our coffee machine's been broken for like 3 or 4 months.
What have you got? What type of machine?
I don't even know. It's a really nice one.
Is it like an espresso thing or like
no,
an
actual...
actual...
it's like a proper one.
Okay.
It's not broken. I think we just need someone to help us with it. We probably just don't know how we're using it. Anyway, so each month I keep buying the milk thinking like, so I can have coffee at home. And then I remember that we still haven't got it fixed. So at the moment there's like a full carton of milk that's probably off or going off. Always have things like yogurt, eggs, spinach, that sort of stuff.
Stuff to go on a shake.
Yep, pretty much. And then they're the basics, really. And I'd love to say, I've got a whole shelf full of fresh vegetables and meat and all this sort of stuff. But lately, I'll have one night a week where I can kind of like meal prep. But whether we get through those meals or not, like, is another thing. Like, I don't know. We've been doing a lot of Uber Eats lately. I hate to say it. Yeah. Or I'm a bit of a fan of cooking in the moment. Like, I like to go to the supermarket and get exactly what I want for that night. Yeah. Because I don't know. I really need to eat what I feel like. I can't pre-plan, which is why, half the time I prep meals for the week, I don't end up eating them because it's like comes to the day and I don't want that anymore.
Yeah, we've got this thing called Your Grocer. It's a brilliant service and they basically bring you the veg. But the problem is that, you're ordering food for like 3-day window.
Yeah.
And like, bananas can go quick, avos can go quick. I don't know. I know what you mean. It's the best thing when you go and you just buy the produce for the day and you're like munching on a little bit of it and making at the same time. It's just that natural experience of making food.
Absolutely. But I definitely need to work out how I can start planning ahead because I don't always have the time or energy to actually go to the shops anymore. Like I used to literally love going to the supermarket. I don't know, it was a weird thing of mine and Josh never understood it because he hates it. It's like his hell. So he was so happy when I used to love it. And now we've gotten to a point where if I'm working late and I know he's home and he asks me what for dinner, I'm like, do you mind going to the supermarket? And he's like, what? You used to love this. And now I just can't be bothered.
Oh, God.
So I need to fall back in love with all of that sort of stuff. I need to make sure I'm making time at night because I do love cooking and it's my favourite way of unwinding. I just don't do it enough.
Yeah. What does your morning routine look like?
It looks like my alarm goes off and because my alarm's on my phone, I'll probably check my phone for a couple of minutes. Then I'll roll over and snuggle Ari and Josh for a little longer. And then my second alarm will go off and then I get up. I don't always exercise in the morning. Kind of depends how I'm feeling. Sometimes if I know, I don't know. I usually just put activewear on. The best part about what we do is we can wear activewear to the office and it's totally fine because half the time we have to film content. So I'll just kind of go to work in that and then if I get a break that day, I'll do it at the office. Otherwise, I will go and exercise before I get ready for work. Okay.
And evening, how do you sort of decompress
This is going to sound like a broken record of Laura's, but peppermint tea is the first thing. Like I literally have to have a peppermint tea after dinner and before bed. Usually watch TV. Really into things like Stranger Things.
Yeah, Stranger Things.
Those kind of Netflix shows.
Yeah.
And Josh and I kind of just unwind by talking to each other about the day. I mean, we're on WhatsApp and we talk all throughout the day as well, but it's just a bit more of a, he's working hard on Soda and I'm working on KIC. So when I get home, I kind of check up in Soda and just see how he is. And then I can't really end the night without having chocolate. So I'll have something.
Chocolate and popcorn or just chocolate something?
Popcorn's like 5 nights a week. Like I'm not even exaggerating.
So you are definitely having like chocolate once a day?
Not definitely, but lately, yes. No, lately, honestly, I've been having at least 2 squares of chocolate a day. Okay. And I would say, when I say lately, I mean for the last 2 months. Okay. And that's not always dark chocolate.
Yeah, I've been, is it Lindt? Lindt's your go-to?
Lindt is my go-to, but there is there's so many old favourites with Cadbury. Like I love Old Gold.
Oh, really? Yeah. Old Gold almonds, great.
Yes. It's my favourite chocolate.
Yeah, I've been devouring. I see you saying 2 squares. I'm like, fuck, I'm a 4 square kind of guy.
No, that's on a good day. I'm definitely 4 to 6 on a
Lauren's like,
average
fuck,
day.
you ate half the block. It's like, whoops.
The worst part is I'll break off like 3 rows, put it in a little bowl and put it in front of Josh and I. But because he's not a sweet tooth, he'll have 1 piece. And then I'll finish the whole bowl and I'll be walking away like, yeah, we shared that.
Yeah. No, that's some good proper, like, inter-family propaganda that I always put out there. It's like, oh, no, you had it. Yeah. You had the last 2 terms. Yeah. It definitely wasn't me. All right, best purchase under $200.
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this question and I genuinely have no idea.
Surely a baby G watch?
Yeah, well, because Laura didn't say it, I'm going to say our subscription to keep it cleaner. No, there is so many good things you can get for under $200. Yeah, you can get a baby G watch for under $200.
Speaking of your subscription, I've been eyeing that off in the last week as I'm looking at one of those things. It is really well priced.
Thank you very much.
If I look at I've been looking at some others, I'm like, wow, they're pricey.
Well, I mean, the main thing is we want to be there for the younger girls or the girls that, find health is really hard to stick by or whatever. So I think being as affordable as possible is the best way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good.
I'm sorry, I don't really have a strong answer for you. I've literally, as I was walking up the stairs, I was like, oh my God, I didn't think of an answer for that under $200.
A bar of Lindt chocolate.
Yeah, probably like 200 bars of Lindt.
All right, last question for you. Mm-hmm. If you could have a billboard anywhere in Australia, where would it be, first of all? And what would you put on it? What would it say?
I'm trying to think of a billboard that I see a lot. I go to the airport a lot, so I probably see the ones all around the airport the most.
A lot of people talk about that billboard more and more as opposed to Punt Road. I've noticed.
True, actually. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's like you turn on to the...
It's such a unique billboard now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd probably have like a nice affirmation, like, you're beautiful, or like, have a good day. I don't know. Or maybe something about Australia. I don't know. It's just like...
Where the bloody hell are you?
Really, yeah. Like really, I think I just have something really basic that would make a lot of people smile.
Yeah.
I was actually a part of a Bonds campaign and the first half of the campaign that ran, the whole billboard just had the word boobs on it. Okay. And like they got into a lot of trouble for it because I think a lot of people were saying that it was totally inappropriate.
The Bonds ad?
Yeah. And people were saying it was really inappropriate or like was, grabbing too many people's attention. And then basically what happened was then all the billboards flipped and it was like photos of us girls in our lingerie. But it wasn't like a really sexy campaign or anything. It was really,
So it's
Bonds.
Literally a Bonds billboard that just said boobs.
Yeah.
Really?
It didn't go for long at all.
Got a lot of attention though.
Yeah. I just liked the punchiness idea of a, basic, clear, worded billboard that got people's attention. So if I could get people's attention like that with clear wording and just say something nice or make them feel good about themselves, then I feel like that's a good billboard.
I feel like those people complaining were just externalizing and really just distracted. All right, Steph, you have to go to the airport soon. So
thank you.
Where can people find you on the internet if they don't already know where you are?
My Instagram handle is Steph Claire Smith.
Okay.
Keep It Cleaner is just Keep It Cleaner. We have a YouTube channel, KIC Girls or Keep It Cleaner Girls. And our website, keepitcleaner.com.au.
Okay.
But that's me, I think. And then Soda and Midnight.
I feel like you've surely got all of that linked on your Instagram. I feel like Instagram is the home.
My bio is where you can find all of my info.
Yeah, it's all there. I confirm it. Otherwise, we'll link it all. Steph,
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Cheers. Thank you for making it to the end. Before you run off, subscribe if you enjoyed this episode or do leave us a rating. For Instagram, go follow us on @uncommon_podcast. For YouTube, search Uncommon Podcast and don't forget to subscribe if you're watching this video. Also give us a like or leave a comment on what you thought about the episode. But until next time, thanks so much for listening.